If we're going to discuss why Sazed turns the themes upside down, we must talk about the ending. No questions asked. But to get to the ending, we must first remember a key piece of Sazed's arc. Vin and Elend's own character arcs. Yay! Wait, what? Hi, I'm Samitha, and today I will bring the Sazed video on a silver platter. I have 2 other videos tackling Vin and Elend, so go watch those if you're interested. I swear, it's not repetitive. I'm not going to talk about those in the same way here, okay? But in the meantime, let me explain why Sazed's arc doesn't just start with Sazed, but with Vin and Elend instead. So, why Elend and why Vin, you might be asking right now. Well, you see, it's quite simple, because both arcs rely on what I've been talking about for a while in my previous videos on the Well of Ascension: trust and choice. Both Vin and Elend's arcs are about learning to trust and making the decision to trust. Vin had trouble trusting others, and maybe to an extent herself, and Elend was pretty much the opposite. He trusted everyone too much, even going to the extent of letting them commoners have democracy. But he didn't trust himself and his capacity to be king. Polar opposites, wouldn't you agree? But even when complementary in this case, they both had to come to the same conclusion. They had to trust themselves and others equally if there were ever to be a future in Luthadel. In their case, it had all been a simple matter of choice. Both Vin and Elend chose to believe in themselves and others, and somehow both came victorious. Vin saved Luthadel, and Elend won his empire's trust. So there you have it, trust and choice. But what does this have to do with Sazed? To get to this question, we must first remember that Sazed has been that symbol of faith for this book and its predecessor, always being the one who believes, the one who hopes, and the one within its strength, because he somehow knows something everyone else misses. His mission is to trust that faith will save them all. He believes, he hopes. That is his role. This makes him the solid rock the crew always stands behind. He chooses to believe in all religions and their intrinsic value, and trusts that this knowledge will eventually save them all. So it's no surprise that Sazed, of all people, would always remain strong, right? Right. But then we get the rest of Sazed's arc, and Tindwyl dies as a consequence of his believing in that hope. Sazed chose to stay in Luthadel because he believed that sacrificing himself to give the Ska hope was the ultimate path forward. But not only was he wrong in sending Elend and Vin away, he lost what was most precious to him. In losing Tindwyl, he lost something far more than losing his most precious person. He loses his faith, that which makes Sazed Sazed. He tried to think of something proper to say, something proper to think, but suddenly all of his religious knowledge seemed hollow. What was the use in giving her a burial? What was the value in speaking the prayers of a long-dead god? What good was he? The religion of Dadrada hadn't helped clubs. The survivor hadn't come to save the thousands of soldiers who had died. What was the point? None of Sazed's knowledge gave him comfort. He accepted the religions he knew, believed in their value, but that didn't give him what he needed. They didn't assure him that Tindwyl's spirit still lived. Instead, they made him question. If so many people believe so many different things, how could any one of them, or even anything at all, actually be true? In losing Tindwyl, he lost the part of him who believed blindly. When faced with the reality of things, Sazed was tested against his faith. Would any of his life purpose give him any solace? Why had he preached faith so fervently, if not? And literally, that last question comes to hit him in the face when Vin releases Ruin, as per Sazed's belief and understanding of the prophecy. Sazed sat back. It was a final blow, the last strike that had killed whatever was left of his faith. He knew at that moment that he would never believe again. If Sazed chose to trust in the prophecy, if he chose to believe in hope, and if his very identity was based on being that hope he preached, it all gets shattered the moment that evil force is unleashed. That's why Sazed's arc is so devastating, because he lost everything, even who he was. And that's where we get to the best part. If Sazed chose to trust, just like Finn and Elend had, it should have all turned out alright. He trusted and it was his choice to make, but what if he chose to trust in the wrong thing? And this is where all the good stuff is. This is why the book is better than you think, and why Sazed turns the themes upside down, because it doesn't just make a twist for the sake of doing a twist. It sets up 2 examples of how the themes can point to one outcome. It convinces you that trust is a choice, that you must trust yourself or others to succeed. Because that's what trust is. Blind faith that no matter what happens, there will be success. But then we come to the ending and the third storyline, and Sanderson flips it around. What if what you had been thinking since the beginning, what if what I convinced you of was wrong? The Well of Ascension is better than you think because it's about turning everything on its head, thematically speaking too. Not to disregard the profound commentary about the instrumentalization of prophecies of religions for not so great things, but the fact that Sanderson was able to do this commentary and turn the whole theme upside down was amazing. This is what ultimately sold me on the greatness of this book. I don't really know how the third book will hit, but at least I loved how this ending shook everything. I'm honestly worried for the ending of the series, for it to disappoint me after such a great job this one did, but I'll take Sanderson's lesson and choose to trust it'll be okay. But maybe I shouldn't? Am I choosing the right thing here? To conclude, I'd say that The Well of Ascension explores trust as a choice, but ultimately asks the question we are all afraid to ask. What if we end up choosing wrong? Maybe we'll get the answer in book 3. As always, thank you for watching. I hope this video gave some food for thought, and if there's anything I missed, anything you want to add, or maybe something I was wrong about, let me know. Either way, see you when I see you. Bye bye.